All right, let's go. Los Angeles Rams. They traded out of the first round here. So they had pick 26. They traded all the way down to pick 46, but they picked up an extra one. So I haven't even looked at their grades and the consensus yet. I don't know if that's being factored in. If anyone's like, great job, you have a 1 for next year, Rams, but we're instead of just looking at the haul. But their first pick was Terrance Ferguson, the tight end out of Oregon. They go edge rusher Josaiah Stewart out of Michigan in round 3. Round 4, it's Auburn running back Jarquez Hunter. Ty Hamilton from Ohio State, defensive tackle, with their first 5th-round pick. Chris Pooh from Ole Miss, the linebacker, in round 5 with their second 5th-round pick. And then Kanata Mumfield, wide receiver out of Pitt, a Lou Riddick favorite because he loves all the Pitt guys as an alumni. And, he thinks he's going to be the best pick of the draft. So we'll see what happens. But a 6-player haul here for the Rams. But I think most importantly, working the board and getting that first rounder for next year in a draft where there should be more first-round quarterbacks, and the Rams might really be looking for a QB. To me, that's the biggest story of this Rams draft.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of teams positioning themselves with that next year quarterback flexibility, and maybe they won't use them on quarterbacks, but they're at least in position to have a shot at it. The Rams, the Browns, for different reasons, but they might both be in the quarterback market in 12 months' time. It's always interesting to me, when you trade out of the first round, you trade into the second, and particularly when you do it a little bit into the second, you're not trading to like 33, 34, 35. You're trading a little bit deeper than that. It's like, what are you going to come out of that second rounder with, and how close do you believe that is to a sort of first round player? So Terrance Ferguson is an interesting selection for them at that spot in the second round. Not a guy I think that a lot of people had in that category of tight ends. When you look at the sort of second wave, it was Mason Taylor who went earlier. It was Elijah Arroyo. It was Harold Fannin even. Terrance Ferguson, I don't think was many people's guy in that kind of category, but that's the one the Rams have gone with. So that part is kind of fascinating. Josaiah Stewart, though, in the 3rd round, I think is a really fun pick. Like, that guy is one of the best pass rushers as a defensive lineman in this draft. Plays with that kind of Mike Green level intensity and sort of violence of his hands on the field. I think he's a little bit lighter and smaller and generally has a little bit less sand in his pants than most of these edge rushers. And when he didn't have a running start, you could sort of see the lack of power exposed sometimes. But when you look at the defensive line the Rams already have, I mean, look what they did to the Vikings in the playoffs. You add Josaiah Stewart to that with a sort of different skill set than some of those other guys have. That could be a fun situational pass rusher or just rotational body to now throw at teams.
I love the Josaiah Stewart pick. When I line up, his production against what other solid or better players have done at the NFL level in college. He's better. He's higher pass rush win rate, pressure percentage, sack percentage, positively graded plays per PFF in the run game. Like, he's a disruptive player on, as you said, an ascending disruptive defensive line. Another one of those, like, you're never going to just draft for need in the 3rd round. But I like that the Rams, despite they drafted 4 defensive linemen last year. They added Kobe Turner the year before. Just keep staying young and adding bodies to that defensive line. And I think Stewart added to Byron Young and Jared Verse. Love that addition for the Rams. I'm not as high on Ferguson overall. I think he's a pretty good athlete. Oregon set up screens for him a lot to try to use that athleticism. So they tried to get him in space. I don't think he catches the ball that well in traffic. 8th percentile contested catch rate during his career. So that's the thing from a tight end perspective. But then I also hear McVay. McVay was comparing him to Chris Cooley back in the day in Washington. And if there's one thing I trust McVay and the Rams, it's to maximize playmaker skill sets. Doesn't mean they're going to do it all the time, but they always seem to have a specific vision. Again, I don't think he's the inline blocker, but he gets after it in the run game at least. And so I think he's going to be a movable piece for them, right? Kind of an H-back type, move him around the formation. He does run pretty well, so they'll use his athleticism. So that's where I think McVay's going to get the most out of him. He just wasn't one of my favorite players in the draft to take, in the 2nd round. Hey, guys, just taking a quick break to tell you, hey, just over 50% of you are still unsubscribed to Check the Mic. It helps the channel. It helps to make sure that you don't miss any of our shows. So if you have a chance, hit the subscribe button right now.
Yeah. Now, that being said, they did end up with one of our favorite players in the draft as an undrafted free agent because they brought in Willie Lampkin.
They got their center guard. You can play both positions. Center guard of the future. Does he compete for center snaps here, Sam?
Honestly, the Rams do not have a particularly strong depth chart at center. Willie Lampkin could end up starting at center for the Rams. Like if they give him the opportunity to even compete at the position, like if they've just brought him in, they're like, he's a gimmick fullback in training camp, and then we'll say goodbye. Okay, fine, he's not going to. But if they look at him and say, look, it doesn't make any sense. The body type is ridiculous. The measurables are not good, but the tape is really good. Let's just give him a shot. If they give him any kind of shot, I honestly think he could end up starting at center for this team sometime in the next 12 months.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm glad they got Willie in there. I mean, the other picks to highlight, they have a history of day 3 linebackers competing and starting, from Ernest Jones to Omar Spate. I mean, Chris Paul, Pooh Paul from Ole Miss, another pretty good player, plays above his size. I think he, flies around, makes a lot of plays in the run game. I think he's got a lot of potential there. So I think they could get a starter there. And even at Jarquez Hunter, it is interesting to me that with Kyren Williams kind of as their bell cow, last year they added Blake Corum, and now they add Jarquez Hunter, another place where they keep adding these mid-round running backs who, at some point, Kyren Williams stuck. I mean, Hunter could be more of a downhill type of presence for them as well. So I think they're just adding depth to positions. I think beyond the tight end pick where Ferguson has a chance with, Higbee having one more year on his deal. I think they have a specific plan for Ferguson, just adding depth at edge, at running back, at linebacker. I think those guys have chances to contribute as part of those rotations. And then Willie Lampkin.
Pooh Paul in particular.
Future starting center. Yeah, Pooh Paul is an absolute opportunity to start for them. Productive player at Ole Miss. The consensus for the Rams, it's a little higher than I anticipated. I figured the people would say, you don't have a first-round pick. Your first pick's a tight end, and the second, it's like the 4th or 5th tight end. But they were tied for 17th in the consensus rankings from Renee, ranging from an A to a C, it looks like. So number 17 in the consensus, that's not bad. It's right by Buffalo, who I thought had I was raving about Buffalo's draft. So they were tied with Buffalo for 17th in Renee's consensus rankings here.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would say Buffalo had a significantly better draft than the Rams.
Yeah, I agree. But again, I think the biggest story here is they got those 6 players. They have a first for next year. And I don't know what happens with this quarterback class. It feels deep in the same way this year's class was deep, in that there's a lot of players. If they take a step forward, if they take this next step, if Lenoris Sellers improves this year, if all of these players, if Arch Manning is as hyped, then it might be a loaded quarterback class. So we're a year away. We'll figure it out. But the Rams and the Browns are the 2 teams that have first rounders for next year now, and presumably both are going to be in the quarterback market.
Yeah. I think we need to start viewing that as just, we are positioning ourselves for a quarterback next year, independent of what we think next year's quarterbacks look like. Because one thing, if you look at you talked about the way too early first rounds, mock drafts from a year ago. Those all had Quinn Ewers in them. They had Carson Beck in them. They had a bunch of quarterbacks that look like garbage right now. So I don't know that looking at a quarterback class a year out, and none of them had Cam Ward in it, right? So I don't know that looking at a quarterback class a year out is particularly helpful, other than as a vague general directional thing. The point is, get yourself 2 first-round draft picks, and then come what may, there will be quarterbacks there. There are quarterbacks basically every year. Get yourself 2 first-round draft picks, and now you've got flexibility. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.